You know that feeling, right? When you're up against something huge, a system that just feels unbeatable. Well, what if the smartest move isn't to fight it at all? What if you just wait for it to beat itself? We're about to dive into a story that shows exactly how that can work. It's pretty wild.
I mean, just listen to that. That's not a suggestion. It's a declaration. A notice just shows up, all official, basically saying, this is happening. And that's where our story kicks off, with this massive, unmovable force and a strategy you'd never see coming.
So, where does this kind of power even come from? Well, it's all based on a pretty standard legal idea called eminent domain. And this isn't some dusty old rule nobody uses. Nope, it's a fundamental power governments have for things like public projects. It's literally baked right into the system.
And, if you were looking at it from the outside, it all seemed totally above board. The city had a great reason, a new transit corridor that would help everyone. They followed all the steps, checked all the boxes. An appraisal? Done. Compensation? Paid. Ownership? Transferred. On paper, it was flawless.
And at first, man, there was a ton of action. It really felt like this was a done deal. You had survey teams all over the place, stakes being hammered into the ground, paperwork flying. It looked like this project was a runaway train. And the city owning the land, well, that felt like the final chapter.
But it wasn't the end. Because all that momentum, it just vanished. Poof. There was no big press conference, no dramatic announcement. It just got quiet. The work just stopped.
And as the days turned into weeks and weeks into months, a pattern started to show. First it was 1 month. Okay, a delay. Then 6 months go by. Then a whole year. Still nothing. No dirt being moved, no construction. What looked like a simple delay at first was starting to feel like something totally different. A complete and total standstill.
Okay, and this right here is the turning point. This is where Daniel, the guy who used to own the property, has this incredible light bulb moment. He realizes he's been asking the completely wrong question. The real question wasn't, why did you take my land? It was, why aren't you using it? And that one little shift in focus, it changed the entire game. See, here's the kicker about eminent domain. The power to take property, it's not a blank check. It is absolutely tied to the reason they gave for taking it. The land wasn't just taken so the city could own it. It was taken for a specific purpose, and that purpose isn't just a nice idea, it's a hard and fast requirement. So let's look at the two paths you could take here. The first one, the one most of us would probably jump on, is to react, right? File a complaint, make a big stink, fight them head on. But Daniel, he did something else. He chose to just observe. He watched the calendar, he looked for cracks in their story, and he waited for their own inaction to become his greatest weapon. And this is why his strategy was so brilliant. Think about it. If he'd stormed in after just a month or two, what would have happened? The city could have just said, oops, our bad, rolled a bulldozer out there for a week, and poof, his argument is gone. He needed their inaction to become this long, undeniable, documented pattern. His patience wasn't passive. It was his secret weapon. So after almost a full year of just watching and waiting, Daniel finally makes his move. And he doesn't go in arguing that the whole thing was unfair or wrong. No, he makes a very specific, very precise legal claim: failure of purpose. The argument was devastatingly simple. You took this land for a reason, you didn't fulfill that reason, so your justification for taking it in the first place, it just fell apart.
I love this quote because it just nails it. It's like saying, I intend to build a house. That's great, but until you actually lay the foundation and put up the walls, you don't have a house. For the law, the city's intent to build something wasn't enough. They had to actually do it. And without the doing, the intent just becomes empty words.
Of course, the city came back with all the usual excuses you'd expect. Oh, there were administrative delays, we've got new timelines, we're projecting we'll start soon. But see, Daniel's case had nothing to do with their future promises. It was all about their past performance. He had a year's worth of proof, a solid track record of them doing absolutely nothing. And you can't erase a year of inaction with a new PowerPoint presentation.
And what's so cool about this is that the court didn't have to get into a messy debate about what was fair. They just looked at it like a simple logic problem. Did the city meet the condition of public use? The answer was a clear no. And if the condition fails, then the action that depends on that condition has to fail too. It was just cause and effect. The result? Absolutely incredible. The land was returned, full ownership, restored to Daniel. And get this, the same system that took the land away is the one that gave it back.
This isn't really a story about a guy beating the system. It's about the system being forced to follow its own rules, and in doing so, it corrected its own mistake.
And that, right there, is the key lesson. Daniel didn't win because he had more money or screamed the loudest. He won because he was smarter and more patient. He understood a fundamental truth. Systems, no matter how powerful, have rules and conditions. And if you wait long enough for those conditions to be broken, the whole thing can become incredibly fragile. He just waited for the cracks to show.
So, in the end, this story kind of flips our whole idea of power on its head. Real power isn't just about being able to do something, it's about being able to justify it day after day. And the second that why falls apart, the whole powerful action just collapses on itself.
So, I'll leave you with this to chew on. Where in your world, maybe at work, in a negotiation, maybe anywhere, is the best move not to act, but to just watch? Where are the big wins waiting, not for a big fight, but for you to just patiently wait for the other side's reason for being there to just evaporate?